Well, we continue to look ahead at this afternoon's emergency budget to be tabled by Finance Minister Tito Mboweni. Let's now talk to Sharon Smulders. She's from the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants. Thank you so much for joining us, Sharon. What is it that you're keenly anticipating to come out of this very unusual budget?
Yes, well, it is unusual. It's one of the first that we've had ever, I think, in our history. We'd like to see the medium-term forecast, where they see South Africa going, specifically in relation to debt. How far or deep are we going to be into debt, and what do they project our tax revenues to be? Those are interesting questions, and we're looking forward to hear those answers in the budget.
Is there an anticipation, Sharon, that the minister will tinker with anything in terms of the revenue side? We know that perhaps he's going to announce some cuts, but on the revenue side, can he manage to pick anything up from the general public?
Well, at this stage, I don't think so. Considering that 90% of the total revenue for our country comes from tax revenue, and if we look at the biggest source of that tax revenue is from pay-as-you-earn, which comes from employees' tax from the individuals that are employed. If we see the large-scale retrenchments, reduced working hours for a lot of the employees, reliance on that income is definitely gone, and we cannot rely on that going forward, especially considering the economic impact that COVID has had on the country, as we just heard in the previous interview. If we look at that, that has a knock-on effect on that. The individuals aren't getting salaries. If they don't get salaries, they can't spend. Same with imports. We're not going to have a lot of imports coming in anymore, so customs and excise duties will also be reduced. People aren't travelling as much as they are. Fuel levies are going down. There is the carbon tax that comes in, but that was deferred till October. So we're not sure if that could even continue with the way things are going. So unfortunately, on the tax revenue side, I don't think there's much space left at all, with businesses closing, trying to just stay in business before liquidating or having to liquidate. So that area of the budget, unfortunately, I don't think we'll see any changes coming forward other than a decrease in tax revenue.
Yes, it's a very tricky situation. The debate around saving lives and livelihoods has been going on for quite some time. We know government has eased the restrictions somewhat, but of course there's still areas where it still needs to release restrictions so that the economy can get going again. Do you think that there needs to be a level of pragmatism on the part of government, maybe around issues of tobacco, for example, where they're losing quite a bit of revenue, that is the fiscus? Yeah, tobacco,
alcohol, with those all closing down, there's huge amounts of money being lost there. There's talks of the illicit economy, thriving during this time. So it is an industry that brought in a lot of money for the country that has been lost. As with any other business that is closing and cannot operate, there's lives at stake behind that. Yes, there's health benefits, etc. But there are a lot of people working in those industries. It does bring in tax revenue. So it is definitely a tricky situation and something that does need to be reconsidered.
Yeah. With all the tax relief that the South African Revenue Services has had to give taxpayers, particularly business, and with the economy contracting, we're heading up towards tax season. Many people may be worried about whether they're going to get a decent tax return. Will this situation impact the tax return situation?
Well, like everybody, and that's the law. You still have to file despite what's happening. SARS has provided relief, as you've mentioned. A lot of this relief that they have to apply for is on a case-by-case basis. I think SARS' staff are, their capacity is really limited. It was limited before, and adding COVID onto this now has made things very difficult. We've heard talks of a new tax return. The filing season has been pushed out, so it's actually become quite shorter for people to file their tax returns, which is problematic in itself. So I think that the normal filing will continue. We've heard about automated assessments, where you'll automatically be issued with an assessment and you can agree or not agree, to prevent people from actually having to come in to speed up the process, so I was just trying to say, so things can happen a lot quicker. But businesses are worried. They're not sure how it's going to work. I think they're close to the time, so obviously will do the training and inform people about it. But yeah, the returns will still go in. I just don't think they'll have the money that SARS wants, coming from those, flowing from those returns. And that's the other concern. We've heard about, revenue shortfalls of about 285 billion rand by the Commissioner, which I presume will be a little bit more than now. But even what SARS shows, I think, what they've got on their books and what they actually receive in cash is two different things, because people might want to pay their tax, but they actually just don't have the cash at the moment to do it. And that's where the problem comes in.
Yeah, very tricky situation indeed. Sharon, thank you so much for giving us your contribution there. That's Sharon Smulders. She's from the South African Institute of Chartered Accountants.